everyone, I'm Mark Murray, the teenager entrepreneur, author of How to Be Successful on Twitter, and today I'm going to talk about a book called The Dip, which is written by New York Times best-selling author Seth Godin, and The Dip basically explains how to use quitting to your advantage. Now, the entire concept of using quitting as an advantage sounds very strange, and that's what really made me very reluctant to getting the book at first. I was thinking, how is quitting actually good? Like, how do winners actually quit at things and still win? Because we are all raised in a world where you never give up, you never quit, you keep on going until the whole goal is accomplished. But that concept, as Seth Godin points out in The Dip, is what results in businesses falling apart because they're investing so much time and energy, and in multiple cases money, into one thing that does not even work. So I wasn't really into the right mindset when I got The Dip, because I was one of the many people out there, don't quit, don't give in, but there is a way to quit that is shown in The Dip that is actually a good strategy. Because when people think of don't quit, don't give in, they are thinking of the moment. If something gets too hard all of a sudden, or the work all of a sudden doubles, that's when people quit at the moment. And quitting that many times in the moment, that's not a good strategy. That's not what Seth Godin is trying to point out in his book, The Dip. In his book, he is saying that if you are doing something, then you aren't getting the good results that you should be getting after putting in all the time and effort. Those are times when you should give up on something, and you should define your standards of when you will quit something before the moment comes up. So if there are certain conditions that you do not want to work in, don't address those conditions at the moment. If you are at a moment right now where you are nowhere near quitting and you don't want to quit, that's a perfect time to create the standards. If this does not happen, or if this is not the case, those may be the times where you may not want to pursue something any further. But what is The Dip? What is The Dip? This is the cover of the book, basically. Well, I tried to draw it the best I could, but this is The Dip. The Dip is sort of the learning curve, all the work you have to put in, and The Dip is something that everyone has to go through in their niche, but not everyone gets up to the top, where after all of the learning, after putting in all the hours and investing the time and the money and the effort, they finally get up here. But not everyone gets up to that point. And before you start this dip, because it takes a lot of time to get from this dip all the way up there, you're going to have to make sure that you are going to be able to successfully go through the entire dip. You don't want to quit something when you are in the middle of this dip, because this dip takes a lot of time and money and effort to go all the way up here. In some cases it doesn't take any money at all, but there are other cases where businesses are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to get from this dip all the way to the top where the few are. And winners quit. That is something that I never thought would ever be said. Winners actually do quit because they focus on what they are really good at, and they focus at the things that they are already in the dip and they want to get up here. They know that they want to go through this journey in order to become one of the best. So right now, if a good cross-country runner decides to do snowboarding, that's going to be a bit of a conflict. Or if, let's say, a Twitter expert decides to put in more and more time on Instagram, that also creates dips that may not lead to the best results. So it's basically sticking with some of the things, or maybe even one thing that you are really good at, and get up to the top, which is basically to be the best person of your niche. Because you can't be better than 98% of the competition anymore. You need to be the absolute best, because the best people are going to get the most sales and the most attention. So there are many examples throughout Seth Godin's book of winners who have quit before, because I really did not believe this concept of actually quitting to win. But the way Seth Godin shows how people have quit in order to win in certain cases, I have decided to implement the tactics in this book and decide which tactics and which strategies and which projects are worth sticking with and which ones I should not be sticking with. So winners do quit. This still may be a little strange for you to take in right now because we are all taught never quit, never give in, but that's what some winners do. They realize that they are not going to be able to do this with certain things, and they do not pursue the dip in that area. Instead, they pursue a dip in something that they know before they start that they could get up here eventually. So here are some of the things that are discussed in the dip. Now, I'm not going to give you everything that's discussed in the book because I don't want to ruin the surprise for everyone, but here are some of the things that are discussed in the book. Becoming the best. When you get all the way to the top, that creates scarcity. That's why all the best people are getting the most attention, which is why Apple gets a lot of attention. I mean, think about your niche. Who are the best people in your niche? Those are the people who are probably getting the most attention because they're up here. There are only a few people up here. That creates scarcity, and that's why they're so popular. Another thing discussed in the dip, how to quit. Seth Godin goes into great detail about the difference between quitting at the moment and strategic quitting. And another thing that the dip will help you out with is time management, because you don't want to be pursuing something where you're in the dip, then you realize while in the dip that this is not for you, and then you stop. That's going to cost a lot of time, and in some cases the money, and a lot of other resources as well, but most importantly the time. So if you are going into something knowing you can accomplish it, and you are being very picky about the products that you pursue, that is going to save you a lot of time in the long run. And it also gives you a new way to look at a common problem, which is deciding whether something is right for you or not. Because going back to this whole dip concept, it's a lot of work. Seth Godin repeats that in his book because it's something that you need to take in. Most authors tend to repeat some of the things that they say in their books because that's the message that they want you to recognize. This is going to take a lot of work. No one gets up here in, let's say, a few days. In fact, the people at the top make it harder for the people down here to dip. So, let's say instead of this dip right now, they kind of extend it to, a little bigger, which makes it harder for people to get to the top. Because once the people get to the top, they don't want to be in something that's not scarce anymore. Once they're at the top, they want the top to be as scarce as possible. So if you're going to put in a lot of this work, you need to be able to have the dedication, and you need to know that you are getting to the top. If you are going to pursue something and you know for certain you're not getting to the top, it's not worth the time. So so those are some of the things that Seth Godin talks about in the dip. I highly recommend this book because it's really short. That's the great thing. It's not even 100 pages. It's a quick read, but you get a lot of information out of the books. Seth Godin has testimonials about how people are able to quit and be successful. And at the bottom of this video, there is an affiliate link to the dip. Now I know it is an affiliate link, but the dip is a great book that will show you how to strategically quit and become successful as a result. You're going to learn a lot of information from the dip. It has taught me a lot of things and changed my entire mentality about quitting, because everyone thinks about quitting in the moment. That's how people think of quitting, but there is a way to strategically quit so that you get the most benefit. And that's all for this video. I hope to see you in another video. And I hope that you consider to buy Seth Godin's book, The Dip, because it has taught me a lot. And all of his books, actually, are very helpful. I reviewed The Purple Cow earlier. I'm going to be reading Tribes and How to Make a Purple Cow very soon, and I'll have videos about those two books, sure enough. You can follow me on Twitter and connect with me at MarkBirdie. And what I want you to do today, tomorrow, and every single other day, dream big, achieve greatness, and unlock your potential today.